Hello guys, welcome to this particular session of this our website creation. Make use of Python, which is using Django framework. This particular video, this is where the particular point we're able to achieve to this point, whereby we can add tags. But what we are going to focus mainly on this video is this update game. But when we click on this update, we are not really getting any information. And the trick behind how we are going to do this update, we are going to create a type of URL pattern that get the update, go to the update slash a particular content, the particular I say a particular task that you want to update. So it's going to be something like update slash slash one, the ID. I can say this one here. If I in a situation whereby I go to this update one, so I'm expecting to get something like this drink water. If I to hit I hit on go, if I hit it, I can see that it's giving me a type of error: page not found, request is get request URL, the URL that I tried to get, and then you can see that there's no any URL pattern that is. So we need to create a particular URL. So when we click on this update, we're expecting to get that type of URL that I specified on top, which was this pattern of URL. I can say URL. So the next we are going to do, I've also created the base one of the base work that will make things easier for. So like when we go to our home.html, see that delete. You can see that it's beneath under our table that which is under beneath our for loop. It's under beneath the tables row. You can see that these are table data. So this table data we're going to specify that of the URL, so and also that of the ID. You can see that when I come here and say something like task.id, the ID, all of the ID can, when we are looping, the ID can also fall inside there. But let's go on. As we go on, we're definitely going to understand it. So the first thing we are going to do is actually do for that of URL and pattern that I can, when we go to that, when we do something like this something plain area, we should be able to get this drink water. So the first thing we are going to do is actually to create the URL, then create a template that render those information, and then the next thing is actually to render those information on that of the update. So the next we are going to do is actually to create a HTML you can see HTML file that when we move that information, then we can actually get it display on the front end for us. So remember that this is the what we're expecting to get something like this. Like let's say when we go to something like our local host port 8000/update/2, we should get a content like this is the picture of what I see to actually give example. So when I get to this update, I want it this is second content update. Then we can add extra content to what and then update it on it. So and also something I want us to do, that when we go to that of the particular URL pattern, so we want the that of the content to actually exist, not like creating new content. We want it to actually exist on a particular entry that then we can actually include it and then update it. So let's move further. So next we are going to do, we can actually decide to create a new template. Inside of this template stacks, so we can create a new template which you can name it update.html. You can decide to name it any name of your choice. So I can say HTML, so I can just hit HTML5 to actually help for VS Code to help me to complete it. So next we want to do is actually to change the title. I can say update, I call it update what P, just to name it anything of your choice. So we're not going to do anything more. This is where we're going to create a function that is going to run anytime we go to a particular URL. So our target here is actually go to, maybe we'll go to something like /update. I want to actually show us example, and then information get displayed on this. You can see that there's no any URL pattern that matches. If I reload it again, just to get some error, there's no any error that pattern that matches it. So what I want us to just to show us example, like we actually did this initially. So the next thing we are going to do is actually to create a function. We can name it what update, and then its first parameter is going to take is that of the request. We're still going to add some other parameters here. So let's say in a situation where I want to just to get like I said, I want to show us example of what we are going to do, and then we can then do something a little bit tougher than this. So let's create a variable, name it element, then I set it to our task. Remember that this task was the model that we created that holds that of all the information we have. Let's say I want to get an element that was actually being created by that of this of our task, so I can get it by that of the ID. So I can do the what get. I want to get by ID, I can set it to what 1. Remember that what my target is actually to get this content with the ID of 1 and that of the update.html. So here I've gotten the particular ID that I can say a particular rule that I want to work with. I can decide to move into our update.html. Remember that I've actually created our update.html. So let me just remove all this. Let's say task, I can set it to that of the element. So in that of the update.html, I will target that of the content that was created, which in our case was this row that has this tags on it. So this this table, which is number 1, to target this content, which is drink water 1. So the next thing we are going to do is actually to change this. This is supposed to be update.html. the content is going to be tags, so it's going to be tags.content. So we're going to go to our update.html. Here is going to be, okay, let me just copy some few things here. It's going to be, you can say tags, and say tags dot. So it's going to be tags, because tags was the name we gave it in this our views, which is tags. So we're going to say tags dot what, you can say dot id. Let me also do another one here. I can say our what, content tags dot what, content. So I just want these two guys to display. So I want to, anytime I go to our localhost port 8000/update, I want this to actually appear, which is our tag, which can see that there's no any pattern that matches with it. So I'm going to go to this of our URL that are working, which is this main task. Side of it is the URL. I'm going to copy some. Let me just copy this guy. It's going to be a little bit similar. Paste it here. Is going to be what, update. You can certainly give it any name of your choice. The function that I want to run is actually that of the update, and here is going to be what, update. It's always a good idea if you give your pattern or the URL a particular name. So in your near future, it might be a little bit useful in case the pattern tends to change, but the name, since the name is say entered, you can still make use of the name without needing to change the entire pattern in your part of your script. So enter will go to this update. Want to run this views.update, and this views.update was this view is a file. I want to run this update function. So enter and run this update. So enter and run this update function. It's going to it's going to go into this of our update.html. It's going to get a content tags.object, get a content id. We set the id to be 1. We can know that this, so we're expecting to get id 1 and then drink water 1. So let's actually do that. I don't think we're having any problem here. So just content that has been gotten here, or the road that was being gotten, is being sent to this of our tags, and then it's going to be stored inside there. So let's go to our website and then try to go to this of the update, and then hit enter. I can see that I get something like this signifier. This is the id, and this is the content, drink water. Let me zoom it a little bit so we can all see really well. You can see how simple that was actually to achieve. And to achieve this make use of Python, because I want us to enter, we'll go to update / 1, want to get that of the particular id. If I go to particular content that has on a particular content with this of the id number, I go to 2, I want to get that of the number 2. 3, I want to get that of the number 3. And to do this, we are going to use do a little bit of trick thing to achieve this. Let me go back. Okay, this is enough. So I want, in a situation whereby somebody come to our website and go to something like /update, maybe something /1. I want that person to work with. I want to work with that particular row. I can say a particular row in our database. So when I hit on this in search, or I can say enter, comment, it's not going to go. It's going to tell me URL pattern not recognized. So to do this, we are going to go into this our path that we are working with. So we can say, let's say in the situation where somebody went to 1, I'm expecting 1. When somebody go to 2, I want to work with row 2. I can say content with id 2 or 3. But there's a better way to handle this. To do this is basically simple. We're going to put this output tag. I'm going to say str. We're going to say our pk. You can start to give it any name of your choice, and then we can close it and then put this leading slash. So what's actually happening here? So when we go to update, we're actually we're telling Django that okay, we're expecting a string because this signifies this is a string. We're expecting a string, and that string that we're expecting, we're going to call it pk. Hope it's not hard to get. We're trying to tell Django, oh, we're expecting when somebody go to this update, okay, we want that person to enter a string, right? And that string that person is entering, want to name it pk. So we're going to go into our update.py. So here we're going to say our what pk, because that content to get, which is that pk. So as if the situation where somebody go to maybe string something, that person named it something like 1. So 1 is going to be named so our pk is now going to, let me set it back to pk. Our pk is now going to be 1. So instead of us trying to set 1 automatically here, so we can actually try to set 1 manually, so we can actually set the pk here. Hope is to understand. Okay, let's go back one more time again. This is string. We're trying to tell Django that okay, oh, when we're expecting somebody to enter a string. The string can be number, it can be alphabet. So I'd want to name that string that person entered pk, and then instead of, since we know that what our target is actually that of a number, so this pk is now going to be what that person actually enters, and then we're now going to set our id to what that person enters. Hope is not hard to understand. So let's go back to our website, and then we can see something like update and hit enter, and then we are going to run into a little bit of problem. So let's go back again. You can see it's no longer working like before. But what happened when I set something like 1 here? Let's see what we are going to get. Why am I having issue? Let me go back. Oh, my server is running. id, what is the problem? Everything seems to be working. Okay, let me just make a little bit of change to know that if I can get the database, I can get the server running again. Okay, seems to be working a little bit better. Okay, let me go back to our home page. I can say our root page. You can search for the update. You can see there's no URL pattern. Then what happened when I put 1? Well, let's read the URL pattern, the error we're getting, and see using URL config define method Django try this URL pattern in order, but no one was found. So inside this of our update, we're expecting to input a particular string. Let's say I input 1 like how I did here. So let me reload the page. Okay, so let me put 1 here. I reload. You can see I get drink water. Let me set it to 2. You can see drink water 2. Let me set it to 3. You can see kind of gibberish that we actually set at earlier. So you can see how simple that was actually to achieve. Right now, what we can do now is actually like we have actually moved it to that of our update.html. So what is remaining for us is actually to style it, and also because right now we cannot, when we go to something like that of the update that we're working with, or this /1, we cannot actually update this content anyhow. You cannot update. So do this, we can actually give it a form. The inside of that is going to be stayed. It's going to be inside this of our content form that we have here. And say content entry, then we can actually update it and save it. To do this is basically simple. To do this, first thing we are going to do is actually to create create a variable. You can say form is going to be that of the task form that we actually have. So this task form we can actually move into our context. So it's going to be form. So it's going to be that of the form, just simple as this. So let's reload the page again. Let's go back to 1, and then let's reload it. I'm having issue with my server. Is running perfectly. And see we didn't get any form outputted. That's because we have not actually said I want to actually get it, because what we actually did there was actually just to pass the form into our content, but we haven't actually made use of it. So let me just copy this, put it inside this. Remember that what we actually named this was form, so we can come here and say what form.content. Remember that this form was actually the name we gave it, the key we gave it, and the dot of the content was actually the name we gave it, which is the content, which is an entry field. So let's actually go back to our website. Let's actually reload it. You can see this form has actually been created. So I want this content down here to actually be inside of this of the form. So to do this is basically I'm going to can say put those content that has been gotten by this which is this element, which is gotten by this of the id task.object. I want to put it inside of this of the form, because what we are doing is actually try to update that of the this of the entry. So to do this, we are going to say our set our instance, and we're going to set our instance to be that of the element, meaning that this instance that we have here, we want to, so the content has been gotten, want to set inside of this task form that we have here. So let's actually run this again. You can see we have this drink water here. We can now update it, so we don't need these other guys any longer. So let's actually go back to our update.html. Let's remove this other guy. We can also notice something that, let's reload it again. Also notice something that of the id does not exist. That's when we went to our view, we actually told Django that when it's printing out content, when it's printing out our the field that we created inside of this of the tags, that want it to be done in that of the self.content to actually get the content to be output. I can see that we're actually trying to instantiate that of the content. I can delete, I can remove, I can do a whole lot of things, but right now we cannot update it. So if I go to something like 2, you can see drink water 2 was actually being added here. So the next one we're actually going to do is update button here. To do that is basically simple. We're going to go to our update.html. So what we can do here, let me just delete this and make a little bit of better. This is, I can say I can create our div tag. Let me create div tag. So it's going to be our div tag. We can give it a class. Let me name a class. Is going to be, let me set it to what, content. After we're done setting creating the div tag and then giving it a class of content, so we want to actually create a h1 tag. We are going to write that this is about where we are going to update of our tag. So the next we want to do is actually to create our form. This of our form, we are going to specify that we want the method to be post and action. We want to set it to that of the current path. So we are going to say our form. So we can set the action to be on our root path, and then we can specify the method to be post, so we can know what we're actually doing. So we can make our method to be what, post. Simple as this. Method post action is going to be the current part that we're currently working on. So we also need to specify, let me bring this guy down. We also need to specify the CSRF token. I've talked about the CSRF token earlier. So to specify our CSRF token is basically simple. To do that, we're going to come down here. We can see this of additional braces, percentage sign, and we are going to say our CSRF underscore what token. This add extra layer of security to our forms. And the next we are going to do is actually to render our form. You can see our form dot content. I've explained this form dot content. This form dot content, remember that this form dot content will go to our views.py. This form dot content is what we actually, this form that here, this form is going to contain that of the element that we got here, which is going to, we are going to specify the id, and we can specify a particular content of our choice. Is going to be stored in this of id. Let's say assuming it's going to be something like 5, so we are going to get the content of 5, and then we are going to be stored in this element, and then we are going to pass into this of our tax form that we created, and then we are going to move into our update.html. So this is just basically simple. So next we want to do is actually we can try to set an input. So let's set our input, let me put it on there here so I can see our input. So we're going to set the type to be a submit, and we can set the value to be, let's set it to what, update. Just simple as it. Let's go back to our web server, hit on it, let's go to update. Nothing is happening on this update, but when I come here, do a slash update /5. Okay, we'll go to our update dot /5. This is considered task matching query does not exist. That should, because there's no content we have is not up to 5. Let's go to that of 1. We can see this. We have this h1 tag, update tags, and then drink water 1, which is the content that is on it. So we can decide to update it. If I click on this update button, nothing is going to really happen. So we are going to bitfy this of our template, which is this of our update.html. We are going to, let me close this guy. We are going to update it when I'm going to pause this video to update this video, and there's going to add some CSS to style it a little bit, because looking like this is not actually the best look. So I'm going to pause this video to actually do the CSS style, and then I'm going to explain how the process was being done. I was also able to pause the video and then do a little bit of inline styling, like the body. I gave the body the font family to be Arial, sans serif, the margin to be 0, padding 0, the content, which is this content, this dot signify this is a class that I styled, and which was this content class. And then I also styled out of the h1 tag. I changed the font to be, and that of 26 pixels, color, and then the margin button, which was this of the h1 tag that we did here. And also for this of the form, the method, the post, the action, and this is what I actually did here. The form, I did a little bit of styling to the form, the input, and then the text area, I adjusted it a little bit, let it look a little bit nice. The input, the type, I set the type of that of the submit, which is what I focused on. And that's just basically what I actually did. This is just basic styling, CSS styling, nothing really much here, which we can actually do by ourselves. Background color, someone new to CSS, this will be hard for you. The padding, the font size, the border radius, the cursor, box sizing, a whole lot of few things. So that's basically what I paused the video to actually do. So let's go back to our web page, and then run this. You can see that this is looking a little bit nice, but when I click on this update button, nothing is actually happening. And also when I need to manually come here to actually click on this update, because when I go home, I need to enter and click to let it take effect. So to do this is basically simple. I'm going to go back to our home.html, because this of our front view lives in this of the home.html. So we're going to go to this home.html. So what we are going to do in this home.html is, anytime this is where we want the effect to take. So anytime because we make this kind of anchor tag, which is a link tag, so anytime we click on maybe on this delete, on this update, we want it to go to get the ID of this of the content, and get the content, and go over to that of the this of our current port, and that of the localhost / that of the update, and then that of the content that we're actually dealing with. So to do this, we are going to make use of that of the name and that of the tax ID, because this is actually inside a for loop. So we are going to make use of this tax ID that is here. We're going to get, because when we go back to our URL, what we actually interested is that we want to get this update, and then we're going to specify an ID, or can say PK. This PK stands for primary key. So to do this is basically simple. Instead of us writing this /update, because that's how you go to, that is how you specify the URL you want to happen anytime you click on this button of a, which is this update button, which is this guy. Want to go to a particular URL. To go to a particular, I want to go to the particular URL that have that of the content on it. So to do that, we are going to basically make use of this name. We can decide to make use of this update / that of a particular content I want, but we want this to be dynamic. So we are going to go to this of our home.html. To do this in Django is basically simple, with your percentage sign, so your dictionary tags, and then the percentage sign, which is going to be 2 of it. They are going to say that of the URL, and then what we are going to do is actually specify that of the name of the name of the URL that I want to go to. In our case was this URL that I want to go, which is this update. So anytime we click on this, it's going to go to this our home. Let me bring this guy closer. So it's going to go to this of our update page. It's going to run this of this update URL. So we also need to specify the ID or the primary key that I want to use in this of the views. Because we are going to specify the primary key right here. So what we are going to do is actually make use of this tags dot what ID. Just simple as this. We are going to put tags dot what ID. It's as if we are saying update page tags dot ID, just as if we are saying this of the what update slash, sorry, this will be update slash tags dot ID, and tags dot ID, let's say in a situation whereby it is in a for loop and this was 1 or 2, just as saying update slash 2, just simple as that. But this update name, like we specify the name by ourselves, which was this update page right here. Instead of us writing these guys down, we just make use of this update page. This update page name is actually directly calling this update guy. So a little bit of mistake we are doing, that this is actually for that of the delete. We are going to move it to that of the update, so we won't get any issue when we run this. So remember what we actually say, we are going to say as if I say update slash that of the task ID. Since inside there is a loop, each task ID, this link is going to have this each update link is going to have that of the ID on it. So I hope this is not hard to understand. So let's go to this of the update number 1. So it's going to get this update number 1 and say updated, and then we hit on this update, nothing is going to actually be happening. So we are going to solve two problems here. The first problem we are going to solve is that when we enter, when we are done updating, we need to actually go back to our home page. And then the second problem we are going to solve is that when somebody when somebody enter a particular content, we need to actually check whether it was actually a post method. Once we hit on this update button, when we click on this update button, we want to actually update the content, and then we are going to move over to that of the home page. So simple as that. To do this, we are going to come to this of our views.py. So we are going to do one under this of the forms. We are going to see if the request dot what method. We want to actually check the request method that somebody did was actually a post request. So it's a post request, so we can create another instance of the form. His name was, you can start to give this variable any name of your choice. So let me just actually copy this. So what's actually happening here, so we are going to set the instance to that of the element, which is this guy, which was just as if we are trying to set this box to still be this guy, not really different. So and then we are going to actually do what we are going to make a set request dot what request dot what post, simple as this. So what does this request do? We want to actually grab what somebody entered. So let me just put this somewhere here. We need to actually grab what somebody entered, and then we're going to save what that person entered, simple as this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to check if this form is valid. So we're going to say if form dot is underscore what is valid. If the form is valid, so we're basically simply going to see our form dot, simple as that. So this solve part 1 of our program. So we are going to check the request dot method. When you click on this update, it's going to be a post request. So since it's a post request, we are going to bombard it with what we entered. Initially it's going to have that of the content that was available earlier, and then it's going to bombard it with what I actually entered there, and we want to check if the form is valid. If it's valid, then we are going to save it. And when we are done saving it, like when we come here and say something like updated, and then hit on this update, you can see it got saved, because now it's now being bombarded with what was actually currently available. We don't actually tend to see everything, but when we go back to our main page, you can see drink water 1 was updated. So we need to actually go back to when we're done updating our form. We need to actually go back to our home page for us to see it available. So inside this of Django, the shortcut we are going to import was actually that of the redirect. This redirect is going to help us to redirect to a particular URL of our choice. So we're going to say I want to return path. This is file home path. So let's go back again. So let's go to this drink water 2. So let's say drink water 2 updated. Simple as that. I'm going to hit this updated. Since our form was correct, so it got updated and then went back to our home page. Hope this was not hard to understand. So in this part of this series, you're able to learn how to make use of ID to actually get a particular task. This is our URL, how to actually set a particular point where we can actually input a particular ID to actually get a particular content by making use of that of the ID we specify. So in this video, we are going to do for that of the delete is going to be similar of the update form. So what we are going to do is actually create the URL, delete the HTML, and then we are going to wrap up this video. So I'm happy to see you in that video. Thank you for watching.